monsters you boys have actually created here is an army of pissed off, man-hating, feminists, cannibals. You people have no respect for women.
Oh, come on. All women are mental.
It's a virus.
Why aren't we infected?
Only women can.
If there's something that catches my attention when it comes to zombie media, it's when a story introduces a completely unique concept for a zombie apocalypse. Cooties brought about the idea of a zombie virus only affecting prepubescent children. The Girl with All the Gifts had spores creating zombies with hybrid kids. Dead Island 2 discussed how a biological clock was ticking across the world that would turn all of mankind into zombies one day. Pretty cool stuff. So, the concept of today's movie analysis was one I took note of for a zombie virus that only affects females. Taking the idea of a bunch of dudes getting away for the weekend to enjoy bro time in a small town where women outnumber men 4-1, turning their plans of getting laid awry as the lads battle a female zombie population. Sounds like an okay setup for a horror comedy, a battle of the sexes thing that accentuates women as literal man-eaters. Produced on a budget of £4 million, it would only see a box office draw of £165,000, a complete and utter bomb, a failure by film standards. Most reviews slammed it for being boring, lacking in the zombie department, a Shaun of the Dead ripoff, and purely lads' entertainment that revels in its misogynistic message. And no, before you go in the comments, I'm not trying to make this a gender studies thing or a men versus women thing. I'm a zombie guy who likes to talk about zombies and zombie-like accessories. That is just what this movie likes to center around. The reanimated dead or infected can be a decent vehicle for a narrative while also, in some cases, just being a mindlessly fun horror romp. Did this movie deserve to be a failure, forgotten, and accused of misogyny? Well, let's find out in the subject of today's video as we discuss Before these zombie gals show how their boots are made for walking, you may want to put a boot into a successful career with today's sponsor, Boot.dev. Ever wanted to learn back-end development, a career path with a median income of over $100,000 a year? Well, you could do just that from start to finish in the Python and Go programming languages. Being completely online and self-paced, you can access a smart way to learn code in an RPG game-like environment. While you write tons of code, you gain XP levels, achievements, and compete on a global leaderboard, while top guys on the Boot.dev Discord help you out along the way. And just to keep your peace of mind, the Boot.dev team offers a 30-day no questions asked refund policy alongside a free demo of every single course and its interactive features. Learn how to code and back-end like a badass and get started with my special offer. Click the link in the description and use my code WowSuchGaming to get 25% off your first payment for Boot.dev. That's 25% off your first month or your first year, depending on the subscription you choose. Thank you to Boot.dev for sponsoring today's video. Now, let's check out the movie. Going through the narrative, the movie starts with showing us the survivors of the film, each one having an issue with a woman in their life. Lead man Vince is recently divorced and living in a Slavic depression. Neil is confronted by the woman he slept with last night as she declares she is not a prostitute after banging on their second date. Not remembering her name, he says she couldn't possibly be a prostitute because she ain't kiked. Apparently a compliment. Graham has a tiff with his boyfriend saying it's a boys only weekend and then blows him off. Mikey lauds off as his wife threatens to divorce him if he leaves, as he says he glued her ring to her finger to make sure they don't separate and then ditches her. Patrick ignores his wife with an iPod as she angrily yells about him blowing off her parents visiting and him quitting his consultancy job. And then we have Matt, who doesn't have any women in his life, a comic store owner that knows the intricacies of zombie culture in a generic comic nerd way.
So how come the zombie girls kick his ass on page 4?
How many times do I have to tell you? They are not zombies!
Oh god, this is me, isn't it? These introductions culminate in the setup of the film's theme and setting. Childhood friends getting together on a lad's retreat to help Vince get over his divorce, all while women prove to be obstacles or prizes for the men's enjoyment, leading to all of the women and boyfriend calling them bastards. Up until the title card. This comes from the slang term of doghouse. Urban Dictionary defines this as a figurative place where boyfriends and husbands end up when they are on bad terms with their girlfriend or wife. The reality is the doghouse is a super dope place where guys that are in trouble go to have a real solid time away from their significant other. It is the best version of a man cave with all of a man's best friends present that he can escape to when in hot water with their significant other. So a title that fits what they are attempting to throw down. All of them go and meet up in a pub akin to Shaun of the Dead. To get sidetracked momentarily, the font used in these opening credits is just the Friday the 13th font. I know because I have used that font in a shit ton of my videos and thumbnails. But you know what? I don't have a budget of $4 million to not use a font that I found on Google in just a few seconds. Vince catches a glimpse of a woman across the street, sharpening a knife in a similar way to Shaun of the Dead, where Shaun slowly gets hints of the impending zombie apocalypse. But here, it's just to show that women are scary, a real hollow imitation of the film's obvious inspiration. On that note, the opening feels like the antithesis to Shaun of the Dead. While Shaun struggled to make his girlfriend Liz happy as a parallel to the kind of person and man he wants to be by not becoming a zombie, the characters here are just vapid, shallow dude bros.
All suffering from social gender anxiety.
Oi! No smoking!
Shut up,
Ooh, I'm terrified.
slag.
Framing women as monsters that ruin fun doesn't give me hope what the narrative/message will be. Which we all know it'll probably just be this.
Women.
A female bus driver named Ruth,
From now on, it's Candy.
Candy, shows up to take them to the countryside. They tell her on the way that they are going to Moodley to stay in Mikey's nan's place for a bruvas getaway. But the real reason? In this village, for every one man there are 4 women. A veritable snoo village for them. The minibus is abruptly stopped by dead and rotting sheep in the middle of the road 3 miles out of Moodley. Everyone kinda just brushes this off as something that just happens out in the country. Yeah, okay. Each guy starts getting called by their respective women, causing Neil, the only bachelor there, to get pissed off and confiscate all of their phones. I'm sure this is all just to set up why they can't just call for help later on, I'm sure. Upon arriving, do they find and note that the town is both in the literal middle of nowhere, despite everyone repeatedly saying this beforehand, and that there is no one around in town.
Where did everybody go?
In another similar fashion to Shaun, each man is completely oblivious to signs of the zombie outbreak that has swept this small town. Blood on a soccer ball, bloodied handprints on windows, ripped up posters of male mayoral candidates while female ones are untouched, severed hands on swings, a rotting disemboweled corpse in the pub, and a woman screaming as blood spews on the floor. Since it's before the horror has started, we have to have a cheap jump scare. And now we finally get to the freaking zombie aspect of this zombie film. Although some people are going to say they aren't zombies, they're actually cannibals, but I'm going to label this a zombie film. Mikey finds a bride laying on the ground, subtly or rather unsubtly alluding to the title of the movie and phrase, Doghouse. The Bride Witch is dining on both a dead man and a dead dog next to a wrecked doghouse, with Mikey unaware as he speaks to her. Much like Shaun of the Dead, he stands back in the back area of the house, dumbfounded at the sight of the first zombie of the film doing its thing. Yet Doghouse tries to one-up Shaun's zombies by having it grab a nearby fire axe. Unlike Shaun and Ed though, Mikey decidedly and justifiably books it. At the same time, the other gentlemen witness a soldier attack a hooded girl. Before he can give her the good old British shanking, the guys intercept, thinking he's an assailant. She proceeds to stab Neil in the hand because these zombies apparently find it illegal to bite people. Guess they got themselves a license.
Me a license for stabbing Roy!
By the Queen. Well, a license is a license. Sorry, mate. Can't interfere.
Bloody hell.
Thankfully, Mikey shows up and somehow kills her with a garden gnome straight to the head. Apparently it's that easy, but I doubt that's going to be that easy later on. Now they see their first zombie, with Mikey stating,
"It's like Evil Dead and you shot those things with the claws and the teeth."
So at this point, it's pretty obvious these zombies hate men and will slaughter them on sight given all the context clues. So why would they all lie in wait until just now? The guys were loudly scurrying around the town all this time, even getting in a skirmish with the male soldier and nearly knocking him out. One of the women zombies would have been pissed off just by that sound and tried to kill him. I mean, look at that. One of them's got cleavage that looks more like bent knees trying to advertise the golden arches. They get to the minibus and find the driver, Baby Ruth Candy, has zombified. Guess it's airborne then? With their escape route closed, more zombies appear, with even the town barber roaring out, brandishing scissors like her cardboard cutout. So far, every zombie shown has individually stood out. Giving each zombie defined character and or physical traits is something I enjoy. Giving personality and recurrence to the undead in a small setting makes it more engaging instead of the zombies just being randomized, paletless drones that are randomly in the background. That and these zombies are smart enough to use tools and weapons to add to their lethality. Again, I know they're technically not zombies, but they're undead and they eat corpses, so I'm calling them that, and I'm definitely going to say they get brownie and creativity points here. Getting away in the back alleys, again reminiscent of a certain 2004 movie, they go in the backyard to find a completely eviscerated soldier. Neil is chosen to go grab the gun. Get on him, mate, you're gonna need a gun. Leading to another jump scare, where the soldier wakes up to say the gun is empty and warns them to not go out in the woods. Honestly, with the premise of this movie being about a female-only zombie virus, they should have had a brief moment where the guys hesitate, thinking he could turn into one of them, especially since one of them is a comic book nerd that knows the difference between a zombie, an infected, and a demon. The idea of zombies is definitely known to them. While this interaction is kind of rushed, we do get some good gore of the soldier's still beating heart and him getting his head split open down the middle by the axe-wielding bride. My British friend TK says he remembered all of this film, except for this part that scarred him for life at the age of 9. Pretty damn cool, and now I see where the budget went. Mikey panics to go find his keys to his nan's house that is in one of his 11 pockets, all so we can push suspense as the horde of snoo zombies slowly approach. These zombies can work weapons and have personalities, but can't move faster than snails when it comes down to it. Now we're gonna call back again to Shaun of the Dead, where they are throwing random debris at the undead to deter them instead of grabbing weapons to kill them. Except in this movie, it's unfunny and jolted and rushed. The barber zombie sits behind Matt and snips some of his sprung up hair so he has long enough to react, as the rest of the zombies just stop moving entirely, so Mikey has long enough to finally find the key, unlock the door, open it, and everyone rushes inside while the barber zombie gets drenched in black sludge. The women zombies, after losing sight of their meals, just leave without any issue for some reason. I guess it's just so the narrative can keep moving. As they recuperate, the men adjourn to figure out what is going on, instantly discerning that it must be an airborne virus or chemical that only affects women.
Oh, what kind of virus only affects women?
Bird flu?
If I ever do a Why You Wouldn't Survive video on this franchise, at least I know what I can call the virus.
Phones are dead.
I saw it coming.
Then all of the guys say they hear something and needlessly have them all go quiet, slowly go up to the window, and then get jump scared by literal birds. We could have just done without this scene at all, but I guess the birds were offended by that bird flu remark. The lads interrogate the soldier as he confirms their suspicions that this disease only hits females, yet he does not explain why, chalking up this disease's gender bias completely to luck. Oh boy, Roanoke is about to have a field day with the sexual dimorphism on this one. They hatch a plan to get Candy out of the minibus, with everyone electing Neil to be the one to open up the bus and take care of her. Why?
Women love you.
Call back to how many times he blurts out how women love him. The soldier says Neil might have to kill Candy, so Neil, the asshat that paid her to go by the name of Candy, suddenly has a change of heart out of nowhere and demands that they call her Ruth.
Whatever.
Yeah, we'll stop calling her Candy. Neil, now is not the time to stop objectifying women.
This random dialogue to call out his character traits but have him 180 in front of the lads seems so forced. It's trying to do that thing that a lot of modern adult comedies do, where they specifically call out in extreme detail a character's traits in a long drawn out fashion to garner some laughs.
Be a new man tomorrow. Today we need you to be the misogynist Neanderthal arsehole we all know and love.
But it just feels weird. Maybe if there was a healthy woman there he was trying to impress, it would all make sense. It's from this point on that the movie just does that thing where a lot of zombie films start to fall flat and have everyone act completely stupid like they don't want to live. Neil runs up to the bus, opens it up, and gently nudges the zombie Ruth. And they just sit there staring at each other as he just wafts his injured hand in her face. Then she just yoinks his melee weapon. He proceeds to just lure her away, saying, "You know you want it? Dude, you had a freaking poker. Just stab her in the head while she's not looking. Why risk getting bitten because this infection might affect people or might kill you, or she might pounce you and stab you to death like the soldiers you saw before. You saw how violent and bloody they can get." The rest of the lads rush into the bus like a bunch of frat boys as the bride and barber zombies slowly rise up from the back seats. While the barber, donning blackface coming out of the back seat of a bus, is, well, that's actually fucked up. Apparently, these zombies have the cunning to open a bus door, sit in the very back seats, and lie in wait for people, but not enough just to stab or bite them while they're unaware. They just have to come up going, "Oh, beauty products," just enough to scare them away. These things apparently wiped out a platoon of armed soldiers easily. Why are they having such a hard time catching and killing a bunch of knobs? Patrick falls down out of the bus as cartoony music plays, and the group abandons him. His next course of action? Well, let's just try to jump up to a billboard to get to safety while the axe-wielding bride is right behind him. You blatantly know you can outrun them. They are slow as hell, but you just let yourself be in swinging distance of an axe-wielding bridal cannibalistic monster thing so you can have your leg chopped into? Why would you do that? That makes no sense. I know, it's so he can open up his bag that apparently has a ton of sports equipment so he can be a veritable sniper to hit golf balls at zombies from a high point. He's able to get a vantage point as he watches the rest of the lads go to the center of town and just sit there talking about all the different women zombies that are slowly surrounding them. They can easily just run like they were just doing, but think this is a better idea.
Julie? So do you know her? Oh, yeah, we had a thing once. It didn't end well. I think I'm gonna be sick. Yeah, how do you think I feel?
Discussing how one guy banged a girl in the past. Bravo! Peak zombie content. Better yet, let everyone just sit there so each lad gets a zombie bud on top of them. Why engage in your fight or flight response when you can admire a pair of cannibalistic cans? Because these zombies are women, having one of them thrown at another causes them to fight each other like a couple of cats. Catfighting. Wowee. Vince is about to be snipped into pieces when, no shot, Patrick hits her in the head with a golf ball home run so hard the barber zombie goes unconscious for a bit.
Home run!
This dude was a consultant that turned into a new age guru. What part of him hitting golf balls with a pipe mandates that kind of precision and strength? Matt gets attacked by a dentist zombie with a tooth saw as he cartoonishly flails to knock her mask off, revealing her giant buck teeth.
The British team!
Pat hits a few more golf balls, hitting Matt in the back with no damage, even though it was able to knock a zombie out, and then now is able to knock a tooth out of the dentist with large effect. Then, pinballing another golf ball off a traffic guard zombie sign to hit Big Booba Zombie, the chain reaction causing more women cannibals to start fighting each other. The guys do not take this chance to get away, and instead they start wagering, with even the soldier that has been surviving all this time starting in on these bets at which of the zombies will win. Boobarilla cleanly chops the dentist's head off in one swing as the rest of the XX zombies swarm each other. So they fight each other if irritated and can even swiftly kill one another, but can't do the same to men right in front of them. And if they were this easy to start fighting each other, if that were the case, wouldn't all the women zombies be dead by now? Everyone separates into 4 different groups, with Neil going off by himself, where he has to fight a jockey zombie that literally whips his ass and fends her off by throwing yet another golf ball, but this time in her eye. I know there's a balls joke right here somewhere, but I can't put my finger on it. Babushka redefines the meaning of a walker, only for Neil to see the soccer ball, and suddenly Spanish football music starts playing as he goalposts her cranium. What the hell is going on? He gets inside to safety only to be frying panned in the head like a cartoon wife to a husband. What is this RNG assortment of zombies in this small British village? I said earlier I appreciate defined and diverse zombies, but these are just completely random. The gags feel like they were written by AI overnight, which is sad considering this came out in 2009. It's like they randomized types of people and careers, then threw darts at a board for each one to see when these specific types of zombies would appear in the film. Matt and Vince hold up in a toy store saying to weapon up, and then they grab a plastic lightsaber and nothing else. So we have a so-called zombie expert, and he does fuck all except light her arm on fire. You're giving us zombie fanatics a bad name, you wanka. Also, why are the zombies suddenly trying to get them indoors when earlier the ladies just screwed off elsewhere when they got inside? Because it's the part of the movie where they are supposed to attack. Duh. Graham, Mikey, and the soldier are hiding in the clothing store and conclude that as long as they are not seen, the zombies will leave. That would make sense if the scene prior did not happen. Not only that, but a woman in a dressing room surprise attacks them, only choosing to do so when they bring up the idea of not being seen. Mikey prepares to attack it with a plastic coat hanger. Bro, are these guys serious? What is this? Why are they willingly being stupid and pretending like the daintiest things will hurt the undead? You have common sense. The soldier uses his last bullet on the dress-up girl, drawing the attention of the entire female population. To communicate with one another, the toy store survivors send an RC car with a walkie-talkie to the bookstore survivors. A decent way to at least keep in touch, but honestly, they could have just driven the car off to lead the zombies away so they can all, escape. We then get to...
Brother, what's that? What's that, brother?
Oh boy, the weirdest thing I've probably ever seen in zombie media, and that is saying something. A middle-aged, obese zombie woman in a nightgown has tied Neil up to a chair. She has adorned candles of human fingers on a cake in the middle of this table. This fat zombie is seductively licking one of these severed fingers in front of Neil. I'm all for puns and dumb jokes, but this is all being set up so he can refer to it as finger food.
Why don't we forget about all this finger food?
His way out of this situation is attempting to seduce her with sweet talk, because all the women like him, so that's what his character has to do. So, in return, the fat zombie chooses to fondle her boobs and laugh demonically. Okay. He then asks her to untie him for a good time, so she crawls towards him on all fours and then proceeds to get a turkey carver and cut off one of his digits. It's also now dawning on me that these are less zombies and more of reanimated corpses in the same vein as the Deadites from Evil Dead, taking pleasure in whatever twisted hell they want. But still, if you're going to go this route, I mean, you could have made them smarter. They are choosing not to do a lot of things just to fit the plot. Earlier, this exact character focused on a mummified penis on display. You could have had this plot element or piece of the movie come full circle and had the fat chick nick his dick quick. It would have made more sense for this movie's whole theme of women are man-eaters message, but I mean, I don't think I want to see a bunch of penises adorning a cake. Patrick is listening to new age music and resting, all while the bride continues to chop at the billboard's base. These undead have the tenacity and willpower to apparently chop down a damn billboard post, but refuse to break through a thin glass window at a toy and bookstore? Of course. Speaking of which, the rest of the gents start devising a plan. The plan? To get this cheap looking severed head, which, I mean, they have a £4 million budget and they've had good gore, but they can't get a better looking head, so they stick it on the RC car to lead the zombies away. This makes no sense to add this, since earlier the zombies were chasing the RC car anyways because it was making noise, to the point that one zombie blindly chased it enough to cartoonishly slam into a window. Mikey tries to break into a military vehicle so they can get away, and does it like a total idiot. You're not going to try to break into any other vehicles in the town. No, you're going to try to break into the one vehicle that was designed to take damage and probably can't be broken into with a brick. Well, the distraction ends when both the RC gets toppled and Mikey barely taps the car to set off its alarm, because now we have to have the rising action phase of the movie. It's mandatory. Mikey confronts a butcher that was oblivious to everything that had been going on this entire time while she was chopping on some meat. But she finally becomes aware of all this when Mikey's walkie-talkie gets set off. We need to have another zombie out of nowhere. Vince and Matt go out and light Big Booba Lady on fire in front of the Burning Witch store. They're trying to call back to when they first saw the store, and I guess this is an homage to how women were burned like witches in cursed small villages way back in the day. I don't know, it's just kind of random. It feels like they're trying to do the Shaun of the Dead thing where things are called back to, but because of this, a trail of leaked fluid blows up the toy store, causing fire to start spreading across town. In an unrelated affair, Mikey somehow gets thrown through this window like a sack of potatoes. How? I doubt the butcher lady did it, and she would have preferred to butcher Pete's ass. You know, she has a cleaver. Why would she throw a man? But because of this, he gets surrounded. And for the first time in the film, instead of just sitting there staring at him going, "Oh, that's a bunch of ladies, it is," he immediately just runs through the horde. And guess what? No issue. Why not do that before, especially earlier? Mikey ends up with the soldier and Graham back in the clothing store, and this butcher zombie just cuts the glass. Why are these female cannibals so hesitant at breaking through this glass? They have the capabilities. If I were to put reasoning into it, I guess it's to bring up the idea that women just love stores, so they would not destroy anything related to a store, I guess. But because the women cannot break this glass, the three blokes come up with a brilliant plan. Now, you remember Shaun of the Dead? Are you sick of me bringing it up constantly? Well, sorry. The iconic scene where Shaun's group teaches themselves how to act dead.
Okay. Barbara, that's excellent. Sorry, dear, I was miles away.
And then proceed to go out acting like zombies to go undetected amongst them is ripped off. Doghouse decided they can do it better. How? By having these three dudes cross-dress to walk amongst the cannibal ladies. This is just complete ass. The original thing of making fun of how stupid zombies are and how just pretending to be like them worked with all the build-up and original theme of how we are the zombies. Not to sound pretentious, but it worked on so many levels. Here it's just, oi, what if the lads cross-dress so we can call them gay?
Right, guys.
If they were trying to go with that idea, why did they not fully commit to the bit then? They just talk normally as gruff dudes as the ex-girlfriend zombie rips a purse away from them. Wouldn't talking like that instantly destroy their disguise and nullify why you're dressed as women in the first place? The soldier says bollocks to that and just snaps the neck of the zombie there and then. So you guys have the capability to do that now? Really? If it's this easy to kill them, why the hell aren't they doing that already? Meanwhile, the billboard finally gets knocked down, and Patrick easily limps up to the bus, snags his 9-iron from the candy zombie, and knocks out the bride in one swing. Are you shitting me? How are these creatures even a threat? At least in Evil Dead, do the Deadites have satanic magical powers, flight, and strength? Here it's just willy-nilly, lackluster lady corpses. Neil ends his late-night affair with Amy Schumer and stabs her in the neck. He doesn't outright kill her though, because why would he? Why aim for the head? It is because we need to reuse Chunkenstein for later, I'm sure. Neil ends up falling through a roof into a harem of half-naked zombie women. Honestly, I think this would be a perfect way to kill off the womanizer dude, being eaten alive in a four-way akin to his lifestyle, but the film's message is going to go in a completely different direction, and instead it elects to have the women fight each other over him. So it works out for him, and he simply walks out and tells them he'll call them. Ain't that a laugh? The rest of the dudes start pointing their weapons at each other over what to do next. No rhyme or reason why they do this. It was simply over the soldier suggesting they get inside the church to get to safety. We're in that point in the movie where there needs to be conflict between the living. It needs to happen. They get inside and start telling each other which one of the zombie lasses they would bang.
There were these three kinky birds in that house back there. I thought, as long as they don't start all that sicking up bollocks.
The one with the scissors is pretty fit.
She'll have your bollocks for earrings before you've even bought her a drink.
I really like the one with the axe.
She's married.
The movie then delivers its ultimate message and core theme.
You people have no respect for women.
All women are mental.
Oh, you can't just make that kind of sweeping generalisation about an entire gender, Neil.
Why not? Look at Vince. His missus did that to him. She turned him into a fucking ghost.
In case you've forgotten, the reason we brought him out here was to try and convince him that all women are not out to get him.
Yeah, thanks for that, lads.
So I was right. Women just bring men down, and guys have to be above that. They have to be strong and independent, and women suck. That's how zombies are used in this narrative. They're just man-eaters, and that's it. Again, I'm not here to discuss men and women and all the misogyny, but you have to see why so many reviews slapped the misogyny label on this movie. It feels like a recently divorced or cheated on guy wrote this film right after it happened because god damn, dude. Nearby computers go online as the mystery of the virus is revealed. The female mayor of Moodley, Meg Nutt, talks of a project.
Project Cat House?
Couldn't think of a better name for the virus that you're manufacturing?
All right. We don't have any ideas. We got nothing.
Why not?
I'd rather not get into it right now.
Why not?
Let's just say we've got a few ideas up our sleeve.
Like what?
We got nothing. Happy? Why not?
Well, she sees non-military individuals and then cuts the broadcast. We never see her again. That plot point just dies right there and then. At that moment, the infected begin to ramp themselves up threat-wise. The soldier describes in detail why this is happening due to the stages of infection and says that after 24 hours from initial infection, all women will enter phase 2, where their bodies will mutate heavily, making them smarter, faster, stronger, and growing deadly extremities. The Evil Dead inspiration for the dead people here really shines, as some of them look like fully possessed Bruce Campbell. The women suddenly get the balls to start actually attacking doors and walls to get to the men. I guess halfway through production and writing, they realized the zombies were complete ass when it comes to threat level, and that they needed to spend the rest of the budget on something besides coke and hookers off screen. Gotta say, the shot of the bones coming out of the fingers though was pretty damn sick. The soldier states they have a countermeasure in place for these mutating zombies. Upon reaching phase 2 of their mutations, can an ultrasonic sound be produced that can only be heard by women? I don't know if that's factually accurate, but this just seems out of left field. They didn't know how to deter the zombies in mass, but when they hear this sound, the Deadites will be completely incapacitated. But of course, for now, the sonar is disabled and not working. Then, inner turmoil against the men erupts as they demand answers from the military soldier. The soldier explains that this virus was made for biological warfare, to be dispersed in enemy territories to pit two halves of a population against each other, fighting wars with no armies. I don't know why he had to lay that out. That's usually how biological warfare goes, but this is just the cheapest and easiest way to write a zombie outbreak. On top of that, why? Why specifically put an entire sex at risk for just the purpose of biological warfare? This town of Moodley was set up as an isolated experimental area. So, what is the direct source of the virus that they're able to use it in warfare? I'll let you frickin' guess, because I was dumbfounded completely. But I'm not gonna spoil it. Let's have a quiz. What would the British military use as a spreading vector and source for their zombie virus? Is it A, in the air, B, in the drinking water, C, in women's hygiene products, or D, in detergent? Well, it's a movie about women, so we have to go with the D. Yup, washing powder, but not just washing powder, but wait, there's more. It's
biological.
Women that do laundry are prone to infection. This is by far the dumbest means of infection I've ever stumbled on for a zombie scenario. Only those that wash their clothes in this specific detergent will turn. Okay, sure. Let's say that all of these random women in a bumfuck nowhere village all used the detergent and turned. How the hell did the bus driver, just by driving into the village, get infected? Did she decide her panties needed to be washed, ran into the village, ran them through a rinse and dry cycle, and dashed back to the bus before the guys even noticed? What the bloody hell kind of way is this to reason for a virus to spread? This was an extremely lazy way to just say, lol, women do laundry. I'm unreasonably irritated by this. It's so unbelievably stupid, and not in the way that it's so stupid it's funny. It's just stupid for stupid's sake. The soldier then gets cut in half by Mikey's undead nan, leading to Matt beating her to death with a 9-iron. It took this long to actually get the gusto to kill one with a melee weapon. Then we get another Shaun of the Dead callback.
You've some stuff on your face.
But he doesn't say it exactly. Matt goes into another room and gets killed by the charred booba zombie in response to seeing one of his best friends get impaled by a sword and killed. Vince just slowly shuts the door and calmly tells everyone he's dead. No sense of urgency at an involved cannibal that just killed your best friend right in front of you on the other side of the door. Just, oi, Matt's dead. Then Big Booba bursts through the door and a huge fight breaks out between them all and her. But to break up that action, we have another childhood friend that I have not mentioned whatsoever that the movie even completely forgot about. I failed to mention that a guy named Banksy was late to joining them due to car troubles and finally shows up in the last 20 minutes of the movie. I guess they wanted to pull a Stranger Things and replace a dead character with one instantly to fill the void. The lads delve into the basement to find a den of the flesh and corpses of every single man of Moodley huddled up in a giant pile as feeding grounds for the female population. Apparently, the dead have coordination to do this in phase 1 of their evolution, but can't do much else except do women things and attack. The nesting women chase them as the women up top break through the church doors, forcing them to barricade themselves upstairs. Banksy finally meets up with them and they just casually talk and get down via ladder. The chaos forces them to then use the ladder as a bridge. Graham chooses to hold the door when the fat zombie shows up, growling her fat ass off. Breaking down the barricade as Graham crosses the ladder, she knocks him down to the ground. Surely, with him in his stunned state with a bunch of zombies around, he'll be eaten alive by those half-dozen cannibals, right? Nope. You'll never guess how the gay guy supposedly dies in the film. Never. A goddamn belly flop. Being crushed to death from a story-high belly flop by a middle-aged fat woman that shakes the screen every time she does an action. What a way to go. Banksy gets them to the rescue vehicle and they see it's a mini electric vehicle, a rental car he had no choice to get due to his previous car going up in smoke. They all argue how it's a car for pussies and how they won't all fit. It's an emergency. Bro, if you want to get away, just pack in and have any other people just ride on top. If it's your survival, who gives a shit? They start screaming out loud and how bad the situation is and argue at a very loud volume about how they should be acting. Yeah, really great idea to do out in the middle of the open after you were just being chased by the dead. Nothing would possibly go wrong with 10 minutes left in the movie. Patrick, while spouting off about being positive and cooperative, something that he does not mention whatsoever up until this very moment in the movie, is killed by the scissor zombie. Shortly after, they bum rush to the minibus and decide now is a good time to try and use the minibus. Not that it wasn't an option the entire time. It was there. It was drivable. It only had one zombie in it and she did nothing. She was the one zombie that posed the least amount of threat, but they just decide, no, I'm not going to use it until the very end of the movie. They get there and call the zombie by her actual name. And because of this, she gets stunned long enough to... Never mind, the character that just arrived gets stabbed with a beer bottle to the literal target on his chest. Was he just haphazardly written last minute in order to give the characters a separate rescue vehicle that they don't even use? What was the point to this character whatsoever? But I guess at least we get a cool little gore gag of blood pouring out of his chest like a keg, right? With this non-stop chain of dumbass events done, the three remaining men rush into the bus. Vince, the whole reason they are there because of his recent divorce, refuses to drive, saying he is having a midlife crisis. Dude, now is not the time. You need to drive. Vince says Neil is a womanizer that thinks with his dick and declares Mikey horrible for letting his grandmother die. What the hell was he supposed to do? She was already a zombie. Then he goes on a whole damn rant about being a nice guy to women.
Your fucking fingers. Neither one of you two know anything about women. So why are you two still fucking alive? Oh, we're not gonna be for much longer if you don't stop yapping and get us out of here!
Oh boy, okay. This culminates in him saying women only use men until they are bored like we are pets. Holy shit. The projection here is through the damn stratosphere. The conclusion that the character comes up with is that nice guys always finish last, women don't like nice guys, you gotta be a bad boy. That unless you're a complete asshole, you'll ultimately be killed by women, metaphorically, physically, what have you. That's why the guru died, why the gay guy was crushed, why the guy that just showed up died, which I don't know the reasoning there, but wow, what a message. My 18-year-old self, who couldn't get any ladies, would have been behind this message, and I'm sure recently divorced dudes and incels would agree too. Vince starts driving this bus, their only way to get out of this town apparently, through multiple fences. Not through any roads, mind you. He's risking a lot here just to have this badass scene of driving through some fences. They eventually pop the vat zombie, with a laugh and a giggle, as they finally escape like they could have easily done the entire time with no casualties in their friend group. Graham reaches out to them over the walkie-talkie. I don't know how he still has this and is still alive after being crushed and surrounded by cannibals, but sure, they still need to fill up like 10 more minutes of time. They turn around and go after him as Graham finds the source of the sonar sirens and turns them on right before they were all about to engage in a final showdown to save their mate. But instead of killing all of them or driving off, they goof around for a few minutes in front of the stunned zombies like they are playthings. These things have literally chopped a man's head in half, cut a spine in half, they've done a lot to your friends, but instead of getting away, they goof and laugh until they accidentally break the remote right in front of the zombies. And instead of taking it seriously, we are supposed to be asshole guys now, and that's how they survive against women, leading them to end the movie rushing away in a shopping cart, acting like teenagers, like it's the poster for Jackass the movie. And that is how it ends. That's it. That's the movie. My brain has officially, literally devolved from watching this. Well, I realize this was trying to be an ultimate amalgamation of some elements from Evil Dead's antagonists with a thematic flow similar to Shaun of the Dead, but not really, all tied together to just be a fun movie for guys to watch, just something to drink and laugh at. But everything about it, besides a few good gore scenes, was extremely poorly executed. Nothing from this movie stood out. None of the characters were anything beyond a few words spoken. There was no character to them. Nothing about them had chemistry between anyone. Making this a zombie/horror film did nothing for what it was worth. It added nothing. It was just a bland, blurred mess. As a zombie fanatic, and these technically not being zombies, the threat was just not there. They were just goofy in a way that just did nothing. The dead were inconsistent in their actions. Their setup as intelligent, tool-using infected was cool, but not utilized. Nothing came of them. The zombies were just one big Family Guy cutaway of Evil Dead Deadite tropes. And at the top of it all, the theme being women bad was not only just eye-rolling and groan-inducing, but it was so on the nose, so much of the movie. And it made me cringe because I remember saying shit like, women don't like nice guys. Ugh, they're so stupid. They don't know what they want. Years ago. Just hashing out women jokes that were tired even 15 years ago and using zombies as a vehicle for that, which if they were going for that route, they should have had the zombies do more feminine stuff instead of just, oh, this one uses scissors, this one's a crossing guard. Like, if you were going to do that, you could have had a lot of creative liberties to go with stereotypes, but that was just not done. I know this will cause a lot of contention and ranting in the comments, but good lord, were the reviews pretty on point with that overused buzzword of misogyny. This film might be perfect for you if you wanted a movie called Incel of the Dead, but I would not recommend this to anyone, and the fact that it seemingly tries to ride on the coattails of Shaun of the Dead pisses me off even more. In the end, I would say that Doghouse, more like dog shite. That about wraps up this overly long look into a movie I didn't know existed until last week, and will promptly hopefully forget about in the near future. What do you think? Let me know down below. I'm almost sick of writing and editing this one, but at least I can say I covered it. Thanks to my Patreon patrons and YouTube channel members for supporting the channel to be featured on this list here. I cannot thank y'all enough. Until next time, I'm Zach S, aka Wow Such Gaming. Never forget to stay happy, stay healthy, don't be an incel, and stay well.